Today, we're diving into one of the most incredible transformations in history, the story of the Israelite people. It's an epic tale of oppression, of liberation, and of forging a brand new identity against all odds. And it all revolves around one single, powerful question.
And that, right there, is the huge question we're tackling. Think about it. This isn't just about moving from one place to another. It's a complete shift in who you are, what you believe, and what your purpose is. How do you go from being someone's property to being a people with your own laws, your own land, and your own destiny? All right, so our story kicks off in the heart of the mighty Egyptian empire. The Israelites are at rock bottom. I mean, truly at their lowest point. And a future leader is about to pop up from the most unlikely place imaginable. So picture this. Centuries have passed, the memory of Joseph who'd saved Egypt is totally gone. There's a new pharaoh on the throne, and he's looking at the Israelites' growing numbers. And he's not just worried, he's scared. He doesn't see them as guests anymore, he sees them as a threat. So what does he do? He enslaves them, crushing them with brutal, back-breaking labor, all in the hope of breaking their spirit. But Pharaoh's paranoia just spirals. It gets so bad he issues this horrifying decree. Yet right in the middle of all this violence, one mother's act of desperate faith changes the course of history. Her name is Jochebed. She puts her baby boy in a basket and sets him afloat on the Nile River. And in this just unbelievable twist of fate, who finds him? Pharaoh's own daughter, the daughter of the man who ordered his death. She names him Moses, and he grows up as a prince of Egypt, with absolutely no idea of the destiny that's waiting for him. So fast forward, Moses kills an Egyptian taskmaster and has to flee the country. He ends up spending 40 years as a shepherd out in the desert. He's a fugitive, right? His old life is long gone. And then he has this wild divine encounter, a bush that's on fire, but somehow isn't burning up. And it's from this burning bush that God gives Moses his mission. It's time to go back. It's time to face the most powerful man on earth and demand he let God's people go. With his mission locked in, Moses heads back to Egypt. But what happens next isn't some polite negotiation. No, it's a cosmic showdown that's going to lead to a miraculous escape and the birth of a new set of rules for an entire people. So Moses walks right into the palace and delivers the message. Pharaoh's response? A hard no. And that kicks off this terrifying escalation. God sends 10 plagues, water turning to blood, swarms of frogs, gnats, hail, you name it. Each one is designed to show God's power and to break Pharaoh's stubborn heart. And with every plague, Moses repeats the demand, and with every plague, Pharaoh digs in his heels and says no. The 10th and final plague is the most devastating of all. Only then does a grieving Pharaoh finally give in and tell the Israelites to just get out. They flee immediately. But of course, Pharaoh changes his mind and sends his entire army chasing after them. So now they're trapped, backed up against the Red Sea. It looks like it's all over. And then, the sea itself splits in two, letting them cross on dry land. It's this incredible, definitive moment of freedom. So they're free, but they don't have a home, they don't have a government, nothing. They end up at the foot of Mount Sinai. And it's here that Moses receives what is essentially a constitution for this brand new nation. This was a total game changer. For centuries, their lives were dictated by Pharaoh. Now, these 10 commandments lay out the basic rules for a whole new society. They outline their relationship with God and, just as important, their relationship with each other. This is the very bedrock of their new identity. And this gets to the absolute core of the whole idea. The goal wasn't just to be another kingdom like all the others. The goal was to be a holy nation. Now, that word holy, it just means set apart or different. All these new laws they received about worship, food, justice, they were all designed to make the Israelites unique, a people whose one true king was God himself. Okay, so they've got their freedom, they've got their laws, but the journey? Oh, it is far from over. The path to the promised land cuts right through a harsh, unforgiving desert. And that desert is going to test them, not physically, but in their faith. And this is where you see this crazy contrast. Out in the wilderness, God provides everything they need. This strange bread-like food called manna just appears on the ground every morning. Water gushes out of a rock. But what do the people do? They complain constantly. They even start to look back and romanticize their slavery in Egypt. It's a really critical point.
Their bodies were freed from Egypt, but their minds were still captive to that slave mentality of fear and doubt. This all comes to a head when they finally get to the border of the Promised Land. Moses sends 12 spies in to check it out. They come back and say, "Yep, the land is amazing." But then 10 of the spies give this terrifying report about giants, saying things like, "We looked like grasshoppers next to them." Only 2 guys, Joshua and Caleb, push back and say, "No, with God's help, we can do this." But the people, they choose to listen to the voices of fear. And that one moment of fear, it had a massive consequence. God declares that this entire generation, the one that came out of slavery, will not set foot in the Promised Land. They are sentenced to wander for 40 years, long enough for that whole generation with their slave mindset to pass away. Only their children, the ones born in freedom, will get to inherit the promise. 40 years go by. A whole new generation, born and raised in freedom, is now ready. But they're going to need a new leader to guide them into their destiny and to finally claim the land they were promised so long ago. After leading his people for 4 decades, Moses, the great liberator, passes away. But before he does, God appoints his successor, Joshua. Remember him? He was one of those 2 spies who trusted God all those years ago. That unwavering faith is exactly what made him the perfect leader for this new generation. Their very first obstacle is the heavily fortified city of Jericho. And the battle plan God gives Joshua is, well, it's bizarre. There are no siege weapons, no battering rams. The plan is to just march around the city in silence, blow some trumpets, and then yell. I mean, it makes absolutely zero military sense. It's a pure test of obedience and trust. And here's the big difference. Unlike their parents, who balked at the border 40 years earlier, this new generation, led by Joshua, actually trusts the plan. For 6 straight days, they march silently around the city, probably getting mocked and ridiculed by the soldiers on Jericho's walls. Then comes the 7th day. They circle the city 7 times. The priests raise their trumpets. Joshua gives the command, and the entire nation takes one deep breath, ready to let out a single, unified shout of faith. And with that one sound, the impossible happens. The massive walls of Jericho just collapse into rubble. This victory wasn't won with swords or spears, but with collective trust. It's the defining moment that proves this group of former slaves has finally, truly become a nation, united in purpose and in faith, ready to take their future. So it really leaves us with this question to ponder. This story seems to suggest it takes more than just going through something tough together. It requires a unifying law, a common purpose, and maybe most importantly, a generational shift in belief, moving from the mindset of a slave to the conviction of a free people. What do you think really binds a people together? It's something to think about.